Được trân trọng kính mời ông. Mr. Ousmane Dione, the stage is yours.
His Excellency Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc, His Excellency Chairman of the Central Party Economic Commission, Nguyen Van Dien, His Excellency Deputy Prime Minister Van Duc Dam, party leaders, government leaders, National Assembly leaders, ministers, provincial leaders, diplomatic corps, protocol observers, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for inviting me to the Industry 4.0 Summit. Your presence here shows both strong commitment, but also a clear vision on how Vietnam has to embrace this important megatrend as you advance on the country's social and economic development. Let me start by discussing a piece of technology that has become omnipresent. It is nearly impossible to tear our attention away from it. As you sit in this audience today, you may even be looking at it right now. You have probably guessed. I'm referring to our smartphone. So, back in 1983, you could only make phone calls with the Motorola Dynatac 8000X, which has a weight of 33 centimeters and a weight of 800 kilograms. 800 grams, sorry. In contrast, the iPhone 6 weighed about 16% and its distance presents 35 years ago, but it is exponentially more useful. So, for example, the World Bank is supporting an initiative that allows farmers to use smartphones paired with an automated sensor in the field to monitor the level of water in their rice field paddy. This is happening now in Vietnam. When the water level gets low, the farmer can use the smartphone to trigger the pumping station. The farmer can monitor from a distance multiple plots and sensor stations at once. This has implications for agriculture productivity, water conservation, greenhouse gas reduction, and rural development in Vietnam moving forward. But technological convergence has also changed the way we live, work, produce, and consume. Sometimes this change is gradual, but it can be also disruptive. And if we can really predict one thing in this era of rapid and exponential technological change, it will be continued disruption across different dimensions. In the labor market, ILO forecasts that 56% of all employment in Cambodia, Indonesia, the Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam is at high risk of being replaced with technology over the next decade or two. In the past 2 decades, Vietnam has successfully inserted itself into the selected global value chain while achieving remarkable poverty reduction. In the years ahead, though, disruptive technologies will present both challenges and opportunities for remaining in this successful trajectory. On July 5th, at the National Conference on Sustainable Development 2018, Prime Minister Phuc asked the audience whether Vietnam was ready for Industry 4.0. Let me discuss quickly how Vietnam fares based on international rankings. In terms of digital adoption, Vietnam shows strengths and challenges. The World Bank's Development Report 2016 on digital dividends ranks Vietnam Digital Adoption Index at 0.46 out of 1-point scale. While higher than average of global low-middle income countries, it is still lower than the regional average. Internet penetration in Vietnam is 54%, and 40% of Vietnam's population are social media users. Those numbers are impressive, but according to a recent survey of Alpha Beta, Vietnam fares lowest in the region in all the digital measurements. To forge ahead or even leapfrog, Vietnam must upgrade the way its government functions. And there are three types of government relationship which we believe are critical. Government to government, G2G, government to business, G2B, and government to citizen, G2C. Technologies can help in many ways if we can embrace them strategically to reverse the potential disruption of these relationships. But technology alone cannot solve the puzzles. Simply buying software or hardware won't improve the way government functions. Government will not be a partner to Industry 4.0 if it is stuck at bureaucracy 1.0. So then the big question is how? I believe a three-factor formula or a tripod is necessary for Industry 4.0 to really help Vietnam achieve its development aspirations: technologies, institutions, and people. So first, technologies. Vietnam needs to grasp integrated digital solution. The government should adopt a holistic approach to how technology can support reforms for impact and transform its development outcomes. An interoperability infrastructure as a foundation will strengthen G2G, G2B, and G2C relationships, optimize government investment, and link central-level agencies, national and subnational governments. Let's take a look at the example of Estonia. The country did it at the start of its digital journey known as e-Estonia. As a result, it has gained 2% of its GDP. The system enables an Estonian citizen to establish a company in just 18 minutes. With over 99% state services online, Estonia boasts of savings 800 hours of working time every year through e-Estonia. Another enviable side effect is that twice as many students pursue IT careers in Estonia than the average in other OECD countries. Open data is another critical element. Robust open data among government institutions and between the government and the public will allow data to be used in a way that yields dividends for tomorrow. It is not an exaggeration. It is not an exaggeration to say that land was the raw material of agriculture, iron was the raw materials for industry age, and definitely data is the raw material for information age. Smart City initiative shows how greater open data can enhance the accountability of the government in generating and maintaining services delivery. In Hanoi, real-time on public transportation and traffic will go a long way to relieve commuting challenges. Geospatial data in the Mekong Delta can serve as an early warning for floods and droughts. And the public health sector can now use programs like PatoMap, which allow first responders to monitor and then quickly contain and remove biological threats. But open data also make economic sense. Open data in the European Union created a market for data worth 53.3 billion euros in 2016 and is expected to increase by 37% between 2016 and 2020. Leveraging financial technology or fintech can also be instrumental in improving G2B and G2C relationship in Vietnam, where a large share of adults population still has no bank accounts. Through fintech, vulnerable communities and ethnic minorities groups have enhanced opportunities to access services and financial products remotely, at low cost, and without delay. Both Indonesia and Malaysia have fared well the strengths of financial inclusion, including providing more digital payment options for disadvantaged consumers. E-payment should be a reality to ensure financial inclusion of ethnic minorities in Vietnam, and also to leverage the remittances from large Vietnamese diaspora sending money back home. And blockchain. How about blockchain? This can be used to boost efficiency and safeguard data privacy. For example, tax collection in most countries require personal data to go through several intermediaries. There are risks in this process, which may discourage some people from paying taxes. In such case, the government could use blockchain to record transactional data linked to unique ID based on biometrics, eliminating the need for intermediaries and repeated validation processes. Another great example comes from the food safety. Walmart recently started to use blockchain to start tracking its products, while it used to take 6.5 days to track bad products to its source. With the use of blockchain today, Walmart company now has it down to 2.2 seconds. Second, institutions. The government needs to put in place institutions and streamline businesses' processes to enable institutions. The full function of smartphones, tablets, and other devices can only be realized with the right foundational institutions and processes. These include a digital interoperability framework, digital asset management processes, and privacy protection. No longer ago, subscribers of Vinaphone, Mobifone, and Viettel can only connect to one another at high prohibitive cost. And that is exactly the way data communication between agencies across the government can be working now. A case of point is the fragmentation of database management system, with database across and even within government agencies not effectively communicating with each other. This is a challenge acknowledged by the government of Vietnam, which has recently proposed to build a link the 6 national databases. The main roadblock is the lack of a robust national ID system, and we applaud the government's recent efforts to accelerate the national ID reform implementation. On this front, both India and Thailand are moving rapidly on unique ID based on biometrics, which are an integral element of e-governance in this new era. How can one grant access to digital public services if you can't identify with certainty a person or a company? At its age, India registers 1 million persons a day, thanks to new technologies. At that same rate, Vietnam could complete its full digital registration in only 3 months. So digital identities and data also raise important issues of safeguarding public and private interest. Institutions that can protect data privacy and enable e-transaction and data analytics for public goods will be key for Vietnam to get the most dividend. Institutions or processes neither create nor anticipate disruptive technologies, but certainly they can be instrumental in facilitating innovation and mitigating disruptions. And third, people. The country must invest now in skills and health for the workforce in the future. In 1999, the US Department of Labor famously predicted that 65% of primary school children will end up in a job that hadn't been yet invented. And last year, the number jumped to 85%, according to Dell Technologies. We are looking at an unknown jobs landscapes in the future. In human capital terms, Vietnam is well positioned. It has good public education outcomes, reflected through its strong result in international assessments such as PISA and Young Lives, and it has a dynamic young generation that can embrace and adapt the changes. Also, Vietnam ranks 7th in terms of improvement to its universal health coverage. But the country but the country population is aging. The share of Vietnam population working at age is now at peak and will start declining. By 2050, it is expected that 1 Vietnamese out of 5 will be over 65 years old. A critical challenge for Vietnam is that only 8% of the labor force has a university education, and it is insufficient. It is really insufficient to make the leap to Industry 4.0. Workers need to be equipped with the right skills mix to ride this wave. In order to stay ahead and embrace shift in innovation, promoting digital literacy is important. This includes the existing public sector workforce so it can respond to emerging digital demands. In many cases, this will require change in mindset and a departure from the comfort zone. Partnering with the private sector and citizen services will be useful for public sector workforce to keep up with the digital pace. This also requires a new social framework to make sure that those who are losing their jobs are able to stay afloat long enough to pivot to industries of the future and Revolution 4.0. For example, China has been able to move with transformative digital health services that can improve access and quality of health care. This is empowered by domestic venture capital resources of 10 billion, promising IPO valuation, and the power of the public sector to integrate innovation quickly into services delivery models. The digital health services initiative include robot, telemedicine systems, and the aims to boost the appropriateness care at village clinic level in An Huy province, and the We Doctor platform online for health professionals, also booking a face-to-face appointment. Investing in research and development will be critical for Vietnam to join the frontier of Industry 4.0. Made in Vietnam, the current Made in Vietnam should progressively and better incorporate researched and developed in Vietnam. This means that it is almost clear. It is almost clear that the biggest win from the new technologies will go to the societies and firms that just don't double down on the past, but that can adapt and direct their citizens towards industries that are growing, such as robotics, for example. But let's return. I shall conclude. Let's return to our smartphone. I hope that my remarks have been interesting enough to keep you off your smartphones. But perhaps in this room, you are a public official and you are using your smartphone to look up at social assistance coverage of poor and near poor people of the northern mountainous region of Vietnam. With an integrated national database linked and by a unique ID system, you could also do this whether you are at your office or whether you are in this Industry 4.0 summit. Perhaps in this room you are a business person who need to bid for a government auctions or file tax on your phone. Or perhaps you were sending instruction to a relative in a remote area of Vietnam who needs to pay its electricity bill phone. I strongly believe this is the future of Vietnam. But whatever you do, let us not undermine the basis. For Industry 4.0 to serve Vietnam, the government must ensure an enabling environment to accommodate innovation and improve productivity. This includes macro stability and resilience, and the efficient and effective use of fundamental technologies since Industry 3.0. Let me end up my presentation by sharing with you a tip. Giving many examples is good, but as a Vietnamese saying, getting to the tip finds the solution. So my tip today is on 3 words, 3 letters, T, I, and P. T, to leverage technology to capitalize innovation. I, to put in place the fundamental institutions. And P, to continue to invest on peoples of today and peoples of tomorrow. Thank you so much for your attention. A very good morning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dione, and apologize for pushing you. I hope that I become an accelerator. Xin được cảm ơn phần chia sẻ của ông Ousmane.